Good afternoon, colleagues. Once again, my name is Kosi Etuntuli. I'm from the Research Capacity Development Unit at the Postgraduate School. I'll be your moderator for this afternoon session, which is titled Preparing Research Reports. And we are honored to have Dr. Gabriel Mhonyera, who will be our facilitator for this afternoon. Once again, colleagues, thank you so much for making your time in joining this session. We hope you will learn something from today's presentation. Before we can move on, firstly, I would like to let you aware that this workshop is recorded. We will share the recording of this workshop to the model community, which is the postgraduate research, master's and PhD model community, as well as on the RCT management system, which is the new platform that is available on your ULink under services. The last option is RCTMS. So if you are not yet enrolled in any of the mentioned platforms, kindly send us an email on RCT inquiries, and then we'll be happy to assist you. Remember, on RCTMS, you will get your certificate of attendance as soon as the workshop has finished, and also you can also book for any upcoming workshop and have access to all the previous workshops. So if you are not yet enrolled, email us, colleagues. Before I can hand over to Dr. Gabriel, colleagues, allow me to go through some few housekeeping rules. As I've mentioned, the recording as well as the presentation of this workshop will be shared with everyone. Please do make sure that when your mic has been enabled, there is no background noise from your side that can interrupt the proceeding of this workshop. Dr. Gabriel, if I may ask, would you prefer to take questions at the end of your presentation, or you rather take them along the way as you go?
Ngozi, thank you so much for asking. I prefer that if anyone have a question during the course of the presentation, they are welcome to ask the question. But also we can engage as well at the end during an open discussion segment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Gabriel, for that. Colleagues, as you have heard, so if you do have any questions along the way as Dr. Mhonyera presenting, you are more than welcome to type those questions under the chat, or alternatively, you can just raise a hand and I will stop Dr. Gabriel at any point to say someone has a question either on the chat or someone has raised a hand. I will have to emphasize the importance of making sure that there is no background noise, colleagues, from your side when your mic has been enabled. With that being said, colleagues, now, or before I can go through that, I'll be also sharing a feedback evaluations toward the end of the session. We kindly request you, colleagues, to take your 2 to 3 minutes to fill the feedback in. It helps us in terms of improving our service delivery, as well as to give feedback to all our facilitators for taking their time to facilitate these kinds of workshops that we are offering here at the RCT. So with that being said, colleagues, now allow me to introduce our facilitator, Dr. Gabriel Mhonyera. I'll just go through his bio shortly. Dr. Gabriel holds a PhD in Economic and Management Sciences with International Trade from Northwest University and is currently enrolled in the postgraduate diploma in Research Supervision at the University of Johannesburg. With over a decade of teaching experience and a strong publication record, Dr. Mhonyera has authored and co-authored book chapters and a number of articles in top Thai accredited peer-reviewed journals. Dr. Mhonyera actively reviews for reputable journals and has received multiple awards for academic excellence. He also completed his postdoctoral research fellowship at the University of Johannesburg and currently serves as a research capacity development unit specialist at the UJ Postgraduate School, supporting postgraduate students and researchers in academic writing and publication. His research interests include trade policy, export promotion, globalization, foreign direct investment, regional integration in Africa, market accessibility, measurement, and 4IR trade-related research. That was our facilitator, colleagues, Dr. Gabriel Mhonyera. Once again, thank you, Dr. Mhonyera, for honoring our invite in facilitating this afternoon session. We do hope all the colleagues who have taken their time to attend this afternoon session will learn something today. So colleagues, we do encourage an interactive engagement, so don't hesitate to engage on the chat or just raise a hand, and I will notify Dr. Gabriel as he goes with his presentation. Thank you, everyone. Once again, I now hand over to you, Dr. Gabriel. I think you can start with your presentation. Thank you.
Ngosi, thank you so much for the introduction. And also from the participants who have joined us for today's session, just by show of virtual thumb, that you can hear me well, and that also you are able to see these slides that I'm going to share with you. So I want an indication as well from the participants. I'm going to share this screen with you. Kindly let me know if you can see the presentation that I'm sharing with you now, just by an expression of virtual thumb.
Yes, Doc, we can see your presentation.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kosi. Let me just go back to the beginning of the presentation. So, like my colleague has already said, today, this is a workshop that is sort of tailored to, preparing you as postgraduate students in writing research reports. So when we talk of reports, usually there's a misconception that this is sort of another form of the kind of research that we write as postgraduate students, eliminating it to another form that is possibly equivalent to a dissertation, a mini dissertation, and so on, without actually having it in mind that we have all written research reports, because the research that we are doing, whether you are writing a thesis, you are writing a mini dissertation, that forms part of research report. So that is what we are going to be looking at today, with the aim of sort of guiding you as postgraduate students on how do you actually prepare these research report. So this is the outline of the presentation. The focus I'll introduce so that we get familiar with what is it that we call a research report, and then move into the main aspect of the presentation, where the focus is sort of primarily placed on research reports themselves. And then I will just maybe offer a bit of some concluding remarks before I open the floor for an open discussion, or for question and answer segment, or any other contributions that you might have. So what is it that we call a research report? So we can view it as a structured document that present the process, findings, and conclusions of a study. Of course, it must be clear, in a logical order, following a logical format, just as academic writers. We know that academic writing is formal, and everything that we do, or everything that we write for academic purposes or for publication purposes, it should be clear and logical. So the aim of research reports is to assist the reader to be able to follow the research process step by step. So that research process that you would have done, the reader must be able to follow it step by step. Hence, the importance of communicating your research in a manner that is systematic, logical, and also that is formal. So in most cases, it normally includes, these generic sections: introduction, then there's literature review, there's methodology, there's results, discussion, conclusion, all those sections that we normally include in our pieces of writing that we to document the research that we are doing, whether it's a mini dissertation, it's a full dissertation, or it is a thesis. And these chapters usually they are also organized in sections, that makes the research report to be easier for one to read, and also even for those who will be assessing the work that you'll be doing. So it must also we must bear in mind that this is a permanent academic record, right? Because in most cases, these kind of documents, they find their way into the repository of the university under the custodian of the library here at the University of Johannesburg. So this is where now in future people can make reference to the research that you would have done as a record of your academic work. So in a way, you are contributing to the body of knowledge in the field that you are researching in, or that you are contributing to. And in that manner, others as well, other scholars, both, it could be those who are seasoned, it could be emerging scholars, future scholars, they are able to refer to the work that you would have done. So in a way, any kind of research report also benefits you from citations as well. Right? Why do we write these research reports? What is the importance of that? So we, there are many significant sort of factors that explains why we write these research reports, to share knowledge and communicate findings. This is where you present your results in a manner that is clear, both to your supervisor if you are a student. It could be to peers, possibly maybe you are part of the staff, then it would be to your peers, or to just the wider academic community. So you are sharing the knowledge that you would have documented, as well as communicating the findings that you would have obtained. So the research report now, it's now serving as a form or a manner in which your research can be sort of translated into a form that others can easily understand and also use. So in other ways, that also enables collaborations, further discussions, dissemination of knowledge, providing evidence of the research process as well, in the interest of accountability. It's important that you show how the study was conducted, including how the data was collected, how you analyze the data, the methodology that you use, in a way demonstrating that the research was done in a manner that is rigorous, in terms of the quality of the research itself, including the observation of ethical facets that are linked to the study that you'll be doing, as well as just the whole process is documented systematically as well. So it's also important in that you demonstrate validity, reliability, and transparency of the findings that you would have obtained. For those in the interest of just sort of comprehension. When we talk of validity, we are simply referring to that the study should measure what it intends to measure. And when we talk of reliability, we are ensuring that the findings are consistent and reproducible. It's a very important facet of research. If someone wants to replicate your study, they should be able to also replicate it in a different settings and possibly lead to similar conclusions, with the ones that you would have obtained. So there we are talking of the issue of reliability and transparency. which allows others to verify and trust your results. So we should be able to give access to the data that you used, be able also to replicate the process that you have followed, and also see whether we reach similar conclusions or we reach other conclusions that are that diverge from the those conclusions that you would have stated as reached within the study or the research that you'll be doing. So in other words, the research reports provide the formal documentation to support all these qualities that I've been talking about: the issue of validity, reliability, transparency, and the issue of transparency, including issues of ethical concerns and just ethical conduct, is it guides you as a researcher. Also for academic assessment and evaluation. So at the end, you are studying for a degree, and for you to be awarded that degree, for the degree to be conferred to you, you have to achieve in terms of the assessments that are linked to that degree program. So when you document your research, when you report your research, that is a demonstration of your ability to plan, ability to conduct the research itself, and also to be able to present the research. So in a way, it's serving as a measure of your understanding, your critical thinking, and also the academic skills that you possess as a postgraduate student, or as a researcher, if you are not a student. So important as well, like I've said, that you have to contribute to existing knowledge and also inform policy or practice. At the end, you have to come up with recommendations as guided by the findings that you obtained, to tailor them for policy or for practice. So besides just showing that your findings add to the existing body of knowledge in your field, you also have to inform policy decisions, professional practice, or any further research initiatives. Research should not end by you. So we should be able to continue even after you have made your conclusions. We should be able to carry on from there. So at the end, you also have to leave other avenues that you think future research can follow, as guided by the gap or the contribution that you would have made within the existing literature within your field, and also as a documentation for you to create a reference for future research. So like I've said, future research should be able to, those future researchers specifically should be able to build onto the work that you would have done. So if you see the research ending by you, that you close to say there's nothing else that can happen after you have written, then that is not a good piece of research, because a good piece of research must encourage continuity, it must encourage progress, and sort of assume the notion that knowledge is cumulative. Knowledge is something that is perpetual, so it must be taken from, elevated from one level to another higher level, and it must continue within the field as dictated by some other variations in terms of evolutions, theories. They evolve with time. Now we have technological access that we didn't have before, so all those factors, they also define what could not be done in the past, maybe because of limitations in terms of technology, can now be done maybe possibly today. And so that should be the spirit that informs you as you continue to do the research that you are doing, or any other research that you are contemplating to do in future. So to you as a postgraduate student in postgraduate study, what is the value of research, research report, documenting your your research. So it comes, with quite a number of other sort of advantages, such as developing your research skills, your writing skills, also thinking critically as a master student, as a PhD student. So, which are traits that are required in terms of the National Qualification Framework when you are studying at NQF level 9 as well as NQF level 10. So there should be a master of academic and methodological skills that you have to demonstrate that you possess the ability to apply research methodologies appropriately, whether qualitative, quantitative, or using a mixed method research design. You have to demonstrate your competence in terms of the research design, data analysis, as well as interpretation, including a reflection of the understanding of ethical, procedural, as well as other scholarly conventions and standards that are expected at postgraduate level. So it's important, that you demonstrate the master of academic and methodological skills, as well as providing a foundation for publishing. As a postgraduate researcher, if you write a report, you can further develop that into journal articles. Conference papers can also come out of that, or in dissertation chapters as well. You are able to publish dissertation chapters as well if you find a publisher who will be willing to publish your work. But of course, there are further adaptations that should be done for you to be able to pursue these routes that I'm talking about, or publication routes that I'm talking about. Because I see a hand from David.
Yeah, Doc. David, you can unmute your mic.
Hi, sorry, Ngozi, I'm not sure whether the question. Good afternoon, guys, and thank you, Professor. I'm not sure if this question is to yourself or to Professor, but it's regarding something that he just mentioned a few seconds ago regarding the your data. Your data analysis and all that. And I've noticed, I'm actually quite new to UJ, but I'm a master student. And I've noticed that there's a certain point in time where I'm going to have to do data analysis using some tools, tools like ISM and all that. Now I've been trying to look around to find out where I can get that information regarding how to use those tools so that I can analyze my data and get my proper reports and inferences, as well as the graphs. That's one thing. The second thing that is part of the report, and again, I'm not sure whether it goes to you, is my research will require pictures like that, something that is being drawn. So I'm not sure whether who would help me in actually drawing those type of pictures, or whether I should be using Google Pictures and try and make a report out of those pictures, make them mine or something like that. Those are the two questions I have. I think one is for the statistical inferences, and the second question is if I have pictures that I need to draw for the research, where would I get that type of assistance?
David, what kind of pictures are those?
So I can tell you what my research is about, and then what type of a picture is going to be it. So when we all talk about my research is about smart cities, or smart countries rather. There I will need a picture that basically shows the different aspects of what constitute the small pieces. So those pictures, there are internet pictures, there are scholarly pictures, but I do need that picture, that type of picture on my report. And I'm not really sure where to start building or designing that type of picture, for example.
Okay. All right. Okay. But I think maybe one of the issue of images, maybe possibly your supervisor should be able to advise on. I understand there are maybe possibly some softwares that can be used for doing that, but I think that's something that maybe possibly you can inquire further in your faculty, within your department, as well as maybe your supervisor to advise on that, in terms of whether you can just draw get sort of maybe get a picture from the internet and possibly seeking authority to use that particular image, or whether you draw on your own. Also check within the repository as well, under your faculty, under your department, for some studies that have been done in the past. I understand this is not the first time I hear a study of that particular nature, including some that are historical, where they actually redraw sort of maybe possibly how Johannesburg was maybe in 100 years ago or so. So there is some softwares that can be used for doing that. Then I'll answer the part on the side of the sort of data analysis, interpretation, and so on. Of course, we do have a sister unit that we call StateCon. That is part of the postgraduate school that deals with the analysis of quantitative data. Using SPSS. Then also we collaborate with the library as well for analysis of qualitative data using Atlas TI. So we do have some resources of past workshops, training workshops that have been done both for IBM SPSS as well as for Atlas TI as well. So we are happy to share that with you so that you can sort of have a foundation of what is it that is expected, not really knowing the stage where you are now. Whether you have already started collecting data or you are still designing the questionnaire and so on, but the resources cater from questionnaire design until we still have 2 upcoming workshops that we will do in November. I think about 3, where we will be dealing with now sort of the inferential part of SPSS. So where you run regressions, interpreting your results and so on, making sense of the findings. What is it that you can draw from the regression outputs if you are running regressions and so on. So that is there. You can also contact StateCon. You can contact us. We'll give you the details of StateCon. But Mr. Ntuli, if you have the details, you can also just put them in the chat box for the students to access. So those are some of the support that we do have, but we will be able to also assist you during the course of your study, or the cycle of the study that you are doing. Allow me to proceed. We can engage further again in the open discussion segment as well.
Yeah, I would appreciate even if I can get the historical ones, I would appreciate it, because you read my mind. Everything you said is exactly what's on my mind. Okay.
So you okay, we can just send us an email, rcdinquiries@uj.ac.za. Then it's also there when the feedback survey, the request to complete the feedback survey is posted on the chat box. Our email will be there as well. You can communicate with us, then we can see how we can assist you further, including linking you with the correct people that you can contact within the library if it's for qualitative, and within StateCon if it's for quantitative.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, allow me to continue with the presentation. So I was talking about the value. So I talked about developing your research writing and critical thinking skills. I also talked about demonstration of master of academic and methodological skills, including providing a foundation for publishing. I've published, I think, quite a number of articles from my work that I've done for both masters and PhD. But what I do is that if I have something that I want to, if I maybe possibly an idea, some of the ideas they build on to some of the, it could be literature that I was even writing during my master's, then I make use of that, and of course further sort of update it so that the arguments are based on scholarly literature that is sort of without, besides being relevant, that is also timely as well. So you can have a number of presentations that will, a number of publications that actually emanates from your research report. Then also acting as a milestone of progression in both honors, master's, and doctoral programs. So remember what I've said, don't limit the research reports only to them as a form of sort of a research documentation. No, all these forms of research that we do, when you write a mini dissertation, when you write a full dissertation, when you write a thesis, that all forms part of research reports. You are reporting your research. Just see it, sort of literally as you are reporting the research that you are doing. So it's important that that whole process at the end, it culminates in development of for yourself of problem solving, analytical communication skills, and other elements that I've just referred to within this conversation that I've had with you on the value of research report in postgraduate studies. Then these are types of research reports, like I've been mentioning already before. We have coursework reports where some, for those who are doing maybe masters by coursework, for those who are still doing honors, you do projects, you do assignments, so you normally encounter these when you do during the course of your coursework. Yeah. And when we talk of the coursework reports, they are usually short. Practical tasks, such as case studies, project write-ups, or applied assignments, with the purpose of not producing groundbreaking knowledge, but to help you to practice research, design, analysis, and academic writing. So that's the preparation for you to move maybe possibly from an honors phase to masters, or to other form of reports like dissertation or thesis. So these are the coursework reports are sort of like stepping stones for you to be prepared for larger projects like a full dissertation or a mini dissertation. Let's also maybe put it put it on that as well. Then we also have the theses and dissertations, where at postgraduate level, these are sort of cornerstones of your degree, right? When you for even those who are doing honors, even postgraduate diplomas, and some masters as well, they do mini dissertation, especially the masters by coursework. So they do mini dissertations, which are usually shorter, some mostly around maybe 30 to 60 pages if it's like a lot, but from maybe around 30 pages. That's about 25 to 35,000 words, for mini dissertations, according to UJ standards. So they are meant for, like I've said, for you to sort of maybe possibly research only on one question, demonstrating your competence, right? That is for when you are primarily for when you are doing honors. Then when you are doing masters, now for those who will be doing a full dissertation, that becomes more sort of comprehensive, where you are now expected to do independent original research that shows critical engagement and with both theory and the methodology as well. And that is also linked to NQF level requirement as stipulated by the South African qualifications authority. So for dissertation it becomes much longer. I think dissertations they can go up to 45,000 words. Then you move on again to doctoral level where you write a thesis. Mostly thesis up to 80,000 words, or maybe more than that by 10% or so. You see, but the aim, it differ along these sort of levels, or the expectations rather, they differ also amongst these level, whether your honors, your masters, your PhD. So it all differ, is linked to the NQF requirements of the SAQA requirements in terms of the NQF level that you of the study that you will be doing. Remember, if you are a doctoral student, you have to make a substantial original contribution to knowledge, usually through new theories, through models or frameworks, right? So that's sort of the focus of postgraduate research when you are doing a doctoral degree. So sometimes you don't have to, that when you are and when your abstract is being read, or summary of your study is being read when you are graduating, then people feel like, but this is like a master's, it's just like a master's study. No, we have to make a meaningful contribution to knowledge. Then we also have technical or project reports, where we see that in some cases research can be written up not for academic purposes but for practical use. So this is where you see, those research that are, or those project reports of research that is commissioned by government departments, by non-governmental organizations, or other, industries as well, other sectors of the economy as well. They can, sort of commission certain reports with a focus of, obtaining particular outcomes or recommendations rather than focusing on theory. So there you see some examples include feasibility studies, evaluations, impact assessments, which are very concise, professional, and aimed at solving problems. So that's technical or project reports. Then we also have conference papers and journal articles as well, which are forms of reports as well. So I think now you can see that the reports themselves, they linked to all these facets that I'm talking about. So you can see that the everything will fall under the umbrella of research reports. So for conference papers, journal articles now being meant and tailored for research dissemination now. Right now we are writing for sharing with the wider academic communities, where conference papers, for those who have written them, they are usually short, focused summaries of research that you present at academic meetings, and also with the intention of getting feedback and refining the ideas that you'll be having. Then journal articles, of course, highly structured, shorter pieces of work as well, that you have to undergo peer review if you are sort of publishing in an accredited journal. They are critical for building your academic profile, because the contribution that you are making it to the global body of knowledge. So it's very important that you publish in journals, which is often a requirement as well. Actually, a requirement for you if you are doing masters by research, and also for those who are doing doctoral studies, that you should have published during the course of your degree program. So this is the general structure. Like I've said, I'm just focusing on a generic structure. It can also differ if you go maybe possibly for STEM for STEM subjects, where in literature review, for example, it's not really much of a requirement. So for those who are in engineering and other STEM subjects, you know, but these are just the generic sort of you know, structure that is followed, where we have the title page, you have the abstract, the table of contents, the introduction, you know, literature review for those who are social sciences, humanities and social sciences, methodology, results, discussion, the conclusion and recommendations, the references, and the appendices, you know, any other information that you would have maybe possibly wanted to include or to bring to the attention of the reader or the assessor or the reviewer, but it could not fit within the body of the research report itself. Then you provide it under the appendices. So like I've already mentioned, most institutions, they follow a standard structure, and that structure actually it doesn't really differ much. We actually share it across institutions, and including even globally. You know, so these are sort of the expected, sort of generally the expected, you know, sections, or it could be chapters, depending on how you are framing it, but also on the depth of the study that you'll be doing, or the brevity of the study that you'll be doing. Then for those dissertations that are mini, you can write it in section form, but the one that maybe for the dissertations, for full dissertations, for thesis, then you use chapters, those chapters being brought down into sections, so that there's a logical for logical understanding, or for sequencing of the work that you'll be doing, so that the one who is reading is able to comprehend the research that you are documenting. So the that is the standard structure that is usually followed by most universities. You know, regardless of discipline, you know, there must be clarity, comparability, and ease assessment of what you be sort of writing, or what you'll be documenting. But like I've said, variations also exist depending on discipline as well. For those in engineering, they focus more on methodology, results, and technical diagrams, if there are any. Social science, emphasis is on literature review, discussion, as well as the results, the other sections, but literature review also is a part of it. You must find the gap in knowledge within the literature review exercise. So it's documented in the literature review chapter. And for those who do medical, you know, in health sciences, medical, clinical studies, they often include structured abstracts, the ethics sections, and clinical trial details, you know. So you but mostly most disciplines, they you know, they do share consensus on this structure that I'm just sort of pointing you to, as well as some they merge, like maybe results and discussion, then they merge them together. There can also be other additional sections, such as theoretical frameworks, policy implications, and sometimes conceptual frameworks, you know. So there it comes into play that also your faculty and departmental guidelines, as well as your supervisor, they should be consulted for which particular structure you're supposed to follow, because some they do have their own faculty or departmental templates that you must follow. But at the end of the day, this structure must be a structure that is logical, you know, flowing from problem, context, methods, findings, implications, and so on. So this is it must be logical. And maybe we could even go on to state what is it that is required in the problem, in the context, when you're providing context, within the method, the findings, the implications, so it's also, but we will talk about this as we now progress to sort of dissect these contents or the structure of the report itself, where we look at these elements starting from preliminary pages until we arrive at the appendices. So within the preliminary pages, so that's where you have your title, your declaration, your acknowledgements, your abstracts, your summary, your abbreviations, your table of contents, your list of figures or list of tables if it's applicable. If you have used tables, if you have used figures, then you must have that list as well. Where your title page, I think we've done a lot of presentations on the structure, including the issue of what is it that is expected in terms of the title and how do you come up with a good title, use of that, those qualities or those traits that must be descriptive. You can also, you must use action words as well, within your title. So the title is very important because it sets the formal tone of the document and must follow the university's prescribed template. Exactly, the one of UJ. If you go on the repository, you can see others who have submitted already and they've sort of graduated already, and their work is within the repository. You see the structure of the template, the title page, for the University of Johannesburg. So it's important that you follow that, and also that your title of the title of your study have all those traits that I've been talking about in terms of even being sort of crafted with search engine optimization in mind, in terms of when someone is searching your something along that topic that you did, then your work also must be able to come up on Google, not as the 1 millionth document. No, it must appear also in page 1, preferably number 1, but it should appear within maybe the first 2 pages, let me rather say, because even myself, when I'm searching for literature, I don't go to page 4, 5, 6. Maybe I can just start checking maybe the first 2 pages or 3, then I end there. So your work should not appear at the end. Why? Because you didn't craft it with search engine optimization in mind. So some of those things we can discuss further if you want any explanations on these elements, including the declaration, the acknowledgements, your abstract or summary, the abbreviations, table of contents, and list of figures or tables if you have them. But all these, even in terms of page numbering on your structure, here when you are numbering these pages from the title page, no numbering, but from the all other elements or all the other pages of which falls under the preliminary pages, then you use the Roman numerals, right? Then when you go from your introductory chapter onwards, then you use the Arabic numerals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as we know it, the digits as we know that. Okay, so we can discuss further if there's anyone who wants to sort of engage or want more knowledge on this, but we have done a lot of presentations on this. I've explained this many times, and in some presentations I've sort of repeated again, talking about these elements, adding other, sort of a voice that I would have not added even prior, but we comprehensively have presentations that focus on the structure, including the expected contents within these elements of the structure of your research report. So when I presented on the structure of a thesis, the same what is expected under the title is the same that is also expected here, because like I've said, the research report is an umbrella for all these other forms of academic research documentation that you do. Okay, including those research that are meant for practice as well, for policy and practice, that are commissioned by the governmental entities, by NGOs, and so on. So there's the introduction. It should provide a background and a context to the study, clearly state the research problem, research questions or hypotheses. Also, so outlining the aim of and specific objectives of the study. So that should be seen or explicit within your introduction, including any hypothesis that you be having. So research questions, remember, you're allowed to state questions, or instead you can use hypotheses for studies that are of a quantitative nature. Some have seen situations where they've asked for both, that they want you to state questions, then you also state hypotheses. But for me, both, they are just pointing to the same thing. It's like you state the objectives, then you also state the questions, but yet they are sort of derivatory, sort of, from each other. And usually when I'm writing for publication or for an article, if I state the question, then I don't state the objective. And if I use objectives, then I don't state the question, because they are more of, they have a similar focus. They give a similar message. Then you can also, in some cases, a preview of the you are providing a roadmap to what should be expected within the study itself, the rest of the study. But it's also important that, especially for those who are doing PhD, that your introduction both establish the relevance and the significance of the research, right? With a section as well, particularly focused on the contribution that they're making. All right. So within this, the major elements, you give background and context, you state the problem, then you move on to your research questions. Sometimes I used to include research questions and motivation and research questions. So I motivate, why is this study important? Why should I be doing this study? Then I also ask my questions. So the way that I will be sort of navigating, I will motivate, then end up by asking the questions, by pointing the reader to the questions that the study is asking. Then I move on to my objectives. I state the objectives. Then from there, I go to the research method. I state the method that I'm going to use to achieve those objectives. Remember, this is chapter 1. You don't have to go in detail, but just a snapshot of the research method that you are using to achieve those objectives. If it consists of steps, then it's just a mere mentioning of the steps in passing, sort of very briefly, without having to go into detail. That is reserved for the methodology section. So it is important. After doing that, then you have explained you have stated the method that you are going to use. Then you move on to the contribution the study is making. Then you can sort of now give an outline of the study, which is a roadmap of what to expect in the rest of the report that you will be documenting. The literature review, focusing on critically examining existing research, theories, and evidence that are related to the topic that they are studying. So there's no one who, remember, on the review on literature, on the relevance, on whether it's relevant to what you're doing, leading to identification of the gap in knowledge. So that gap that you say you're occupying, that contribution that you say you're making, we should see it also within. It should be reflected in the literature review that you would have done. So in terms of any inconsistencies, gaps, underexplored areas that justify the research that you'll be doing. So this literature review chapter serves as a demonstration of your understanding and master of the field that you are studying in. Right? So usually we organize your literature review chapter by sections that are based on themes. It could be concepts or other topics, and the information should be synthesized rather than just summarizing studies, existing studies. So that so and so found this in China, and so found this in Brazil. So go to the extent of asking yourself that, so what? Then ask that question. As odd as it sounds, but it actually assists you in writing your literature review in a manner that is critical. If they found that, then so what? Okay, we know about it. We have also read that they found that. But what are you saying yourself? So that application of your mind within the literature review exercise is very, very something that is of significance. Then also providing a foundation for the methodology in helping you to justify your research design and approach as well. Because when you also present during your literature review section as well, you also look at other maybe possibly methods that were used as well. We in some of the studies that would have included, and that forms the foundation of the presentation of the research methodology chapter as well. Then within the methodology itself, explaining how the research was conducted and providing enough detail for replication. If your study cannot be replicated, if I cannot understand the method that they have followed step by step, then your study ceases to be a good study. Why? Because it doesn't allow replication, right? Which is also a huge essential element of validity and reliability, right? So you have to provide detail that is enough. If you read your research method, when you are writing it, ask yourself that if someone wants to replicate this, that are they able to understand processes that I would have followed, the sequence, of steps that you would have followed, and are they able to reach sort of similar outcomes or make sort of conclusions, similar conclusions, although that is also based in terms of the geographical focus of the study that the one who is replicating your studies is doing. But if it has to include, for it to be a detailed replication, then it must include the elements that relates to the research design in terms of whether is it qualitative, is it quantitative, is it a mixed method approach that would have been followed, and also the data collection methods, surveys, interviews, observation, document analysis, focus groups, the sampling strategy as well. How did you select the participants? The sample size itself, the rationale for doing that, for maybe that particular sample size, with the rationale for you to follow a particular sampling procedure. Let's say you followed purposive sampling procedure. Why did you follow purposive sampling procedure? And we both as assessors, we also look at the element of bias and other stuff. You are doing a study where you have to maybe mine the data from social media, then you only include your friends on Facebook. So already, we questions can also, sort of emerge from, such, you have to be able to give a proper rationale on why did you follow that particular strategy. Then the analysis techniques as well, how the data were processed and interpreted. If you use the SPSS, I've used the SPSS, this is what I've done, maybe possibly briefly, then we have an understanding, and we are able to gauge or judge the appropriateness of the technique that you have applied is related to the study that you are doing. Then addressing ethical considerations as well, issues of informed consent, confidentiality, any approvals that are needed, including the demonstration of that the quality of the research that you have been doing, the quality of the analysis that you would have done, its credibility, and also the transparency of the whole study as a whole. So that's what constitutes a good methodology. So if you have those elements that I've been stating here, then we can say that this is a good methodology, and it allows replication of the study that you would have been doing. Then from there you move on to the results or the findings, where within the results and findings, the focus is on presenting the outcomes of the research in a manner that is clear and systematic. So it must be sort of in a structured manner, following a structured manner. You organize according to objectives, themes, hypotheses, depending on whether it's a qualitative or it's a quantitative study. Then this is where you use visuals as well, use of tables, charts, graphs, and figures to illustrate the results themselves. So in a way, these visuals, they make information that is complex or to be able to be understandable. So that is the aim. If the table further confuses the reader, if the charts further confuse the reader or the comprehension of the message that you want to give, then you should not be using them. So in a way, even these tables, graphs, they also have their own rules. I always talk about the issue of replicating what is on the table, then you write it again in the text. That should not be done. If you can write it in text form, then write it in text form. There's no need to say there's 1, 2, 3, 4 on the table. As you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 on the table. When I go to the table, surely there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So why are you writing it again? So all those rules, all those conventions, being observed or having them in mind is also very important, including the issue of that the table itself should be able to make sense of what the table is depicting without having to refer to text or to read what you have written. So that's why if it's a table or if it's a figure, if there's any abbreviations or any other notes that you need to provide, that will make it understandable. Then you have to provide them when you after the caption. When you provide the source of that particular table or figure, then you also provide some notes to the table so that it's understood without one having to go into the text itself. Then for qualitative research, then usually themes are included, patterns and illustrative quotes, those escapes, which should also be used minimally and when necessary, as well as a demonstration of in a manner that you are sort of linking or justifying some of the to show what the participants are also saying, but not rather to just go and just copy all the interview response that you end up presenting them as results. At the end, you have an 80-page document of results on why, because you didn't sort of present the results. You were just taking what the participants were saying. So all those things have to be put in mind when you are now presenting your results. And within quantitative research, descriptive statistics and inferential statistics, they should also be included. And avoiding interpretation, focus on what was found. What did you find? What did you discover? Not why it happened, right? If you have a separate discussion chapter, because if you now tell us why it happened, then within the discussion, you are going to run out of of anything to write. You end up replicating what you have already written in the results section. Why? Because you are presenting and also discussing the results within the results section. So if they are split, then make sure to stick to presenting the results in the results section, to stick to what you discovered rather than why it happened. Then you reserve why it happened for the discussion section. So in a way, the results should be factual, they should be precise and free from interpretation, because interpretation is reserved for the discussion section. Then within the discussion itself, you analyze and interpret the results in relation to the research questions and literature review. That's the aim. Explaining the significance and implications of the findings, highlighting patterns, trends, or unexpected results. You are also even allowed to be surprised as well. That is if you are really surprised. So don't say you're surprised whilst you know that you were not surprised. To not also overstate as well. So in terms of these results are very important. So overstating the significance of the conclusions or the results that the findings that they have made, or the conclusions that you would have made. So you also discuss the limitations or constraints of the study, demonstrating critical thinking, analytical skills, and ability to link findings to theory and practice. This is where you triangulate now with existing literature as well. So now you are linking to your findings to the theory and practice. And it's important, don't introduce new sources here, because you must link to the sources that you would have used within your study, in the literature review, in the empirical, where you were presenting your theoretical and empirical literature. Then you triangulate to that. If you find another source that is so good that you want to include it in your discussion, then you have to integrate it within your literature review section. Otherwise, it doesn't give a good picture to just find new sources. Then you are now integrating with new sources that you never said anything about within your literature review, that did not contribute anything to the gap identification that you would have established within your literature. Then from discussion, conclusions, and recommendations, where the aim is to restate the main findings in a manner that is concise. So you summarize the key findings in the overall contribution of the research, right? So it's very important. So don't rewrite all the results again. So those important results. So you just summarize them. I always give a bit of background. One paragraph giving a bit of background, and from there I go on now to summarizing my key findings. Then from there I move to recommendations, both for practice, for policy, and for future research, which should be concise, focused, and should leave the reader with a clear understanding of the value of the study and the implications of the findings and the conclusions that would have made. So when you are writing in a dissertation format, in a thesis format, it's different from a paper format, like we've already said, because a paper is very limited in terms of your latitude in the context of word limits and so on. But in a dissertation, I introduce the conclusion chapter. You introduce it, by giving a background, a bit of a background. Then I move on to a summary, sort of a summary of all the other chapters that I would have covered, right? So I summarize briefly so that if a person read, they know. The summary usually linked to the sections that they are having within those chapters. Then that of course, you also summarize the results chapter as well. You are providing a summary of the main findings as well. So you provide a summary of everything. Then from there, I move on to stating my contribution that the study have made. Then I go on to recommendations, state maybe possibly if there are any limitations that you've encountered. Then you go on to the recommendations for both practice, for policy and future research. Then I move on to offering my concluding remarks. So you structure the conclusion and recommendation chapter according to the way that you feel that this is it gives a good logical sequence and improves or enhance the comprehension of the work that you have done. If you have written a good conclusion, remember the introduction is the last to be written. After finishing the conclusion again, you go back again to rewrite the introduction, now aligning it or reconciling it with the conclusions that you would have made. Right. So that's why they say the last chapter to be written, introduction. It doesn't mean that you write it last, but it means you write it first, but you go and write it again. You go and realign what you have found. If you did not achieve certain objectives, then you because remember when you do a summary, I also sort of include a table where I give a sort of document, list the objectives that I've stated in the introduction and where have they been achieved, which chapter did I achieve that, including the sections as well. So you give that. But if you find that you stated an objective but you end up didn't answer or provide anything to sort of to respond to that to in a way achieve that objective, you have stated a question but you did not respond to the question, then you have to remove those questions from your objectives because you did not provide any evidence for that, which can be sort of a point of contention if someone is to assess your work or to review your work. So that is very important. So in a way, the conclusion and the recommendation chapter should leave the reader with a clear take-home message about the importance of the study. So that is those concluding remarks that I've just spoke of. Then, of course, from there you move on to referencing and academic integrity. So where you do the referencing part, the way you have to list all sources cited in the report following a consistent referencing style, like the UJ Harvard, for instance. Also making sure that in-text citation appears in the reference list, demonstrating academic integrity and scholarly quality as well, and allowing the readers to verify sources or explore further reading. So don't just take any source that you see on the internet, but some of them are even in predatory journals as well. They are in journals that are not accredited, but they are just taking anything because you have found it on the internet. So you check the quality, assess who is the authority of those sources in a way. So we have the reference list different from the bibliography in the sense that a reference list, only those sources cited in text must have a corresponding entry in the reference list. So you don't have to, if it's not in text, then it shouldn't appear in the reference list. So at the end, you must do a reconciliation of your sources to the reference list. So myself, I normally use an Excel where I delete all the text and leaving only the in-text citations on the document. Then I arrange them alphabetically and start deleting the ones that are duplicated, then transfer them to one column in Excel. Then I go and copy all my entries in the reference list. Then I put them in the next column. Then I go one by one checking and highlighting it with using maybe a red font to show that this is already it's appearing on both. Then at the end, you will be left out with others that are in the citation list, but not in the reference list, and also in the reference list, but not in the citation list. But those that are in the reference list, I just simply delete them. But those that are in the citation list, I must go and look for the sources and put in the reference list. So that's how I reconcile my sources. So I just came up with that because I had to do that. I think in my PhD, I had over maybe 300 sources or so about 40 pages of references. So you have to ensure that whoever is assessing your work, when they do a random check on that, then they don't choose the one that is not, then I find out that it's not appearing within your text. Otherwise, that will undermine the credibility of your study, particularly the reference section, because I would think that, okay, you were not including, you were not citing correctly. So that process has to be done. Remember, academic integrity, honest, transparency, and credibility. Also, the use of reference management tools, EndNote, Mendeley, RefWorks, to try to simplify this process. Because I cite manually, so I have to undergo that process. But if you are using these reference management tools, then when you delete a particular source, they also delete it. When you update the reference list, then it's not appearing in the reference list. So it's important that you avoid plagiarism as well through proper paraphrasing and attribution, right? It's important acknowledging all sources of information, ideas, and data. If it's not your own, then you must provide a reference for that. And of course, I've talked about ensuring accuracy and consistency in both in text citations and reference list. So if you are following UJ Harvard, then follow UJ Harvard. If you are following APA, then strictly follow APA as prescribed by your department or your supervisor, depending on the agreements that you have according to the referencing style that is permitted within your faculty, within your department, or in liaison with your supervisor. Then the appendices section, like I've said, all those supporting materials, that is important, but not central to the report itself. So that's including maybe survey instruments, interview guides, raw data, additional charts, consent forms, ethical clearance, and so on. So the issue is that remember, you want to keep the main report to be concise and readable. So I shouldn't be meeting long tables there within the body of the text of the report. Then that makes the comprehension, it undermines the comprehension of the work or the message that you want to give to the reader in the manner that you intend the reader to receive it. So everything that you put in the appendices, you must also refer to it in the main text as well, so that the readers, they know where to find supporting information. So you don't put, if it's in appendices, it must be having an entry within the text as well that points to, say, maybe see table A1 in appendix A. You understand? So that I know, then I can go. If I need to see further, then I can go there. So in a way, you must have in mind that you are ensuring all the contents of the appendices that you put. It must enhance the transparency, completeness, and credibility of the research. You don't have to overload the report with unnecessary documents. So only those that are essential, that you think that they enhance the understanding or sort of the motivation of the research that you are doing, they enhance the transparency and credibility of the research, as well as the completeness of the research. That's what you should be including. Then the writing style and presentation, you always use formal, academic, and precise tone, so don't beat about the bush, so this is academic writing. It's formal, evidence-based. No latitude to repeat what you have already said and then say it and then tell us that I have said what you have said. No, it's not public speaking. Ensure logical flow of ideas and clear connections between sections, so everything must link, speaking to the topic, everything must work for the whole. Use the headings and subheadings to guide the reader, very important. Even the headings themselves, the level headings, level heading 1, level heading 2, level heading 3, level heading 4. Sometimes I go to 5, depending on the subsections that you would have included. So we have some resources as well where I've presented on the issue of the use of headings and what they mean. You must write concisely, you avoid repetition and unnecessary jargon, maintaining consistency in tense, terminologies, and formatting. If you are using a particular terminology, don't if you are using it interchangeably, then state it at the beginning. Don't just be using one term, then you refer to it with another term again, that kind of. So consistent, even in tense. If you are using past tense, then be consistent with that. If you are using present tense, then be consistent with that. If you are using first person, be consistent. Third person, be consistent. Then proofreading for grammar, spelling, and clarity, very important. It's you who have to do that first, because when you are writing, you're also the writer, you're the author, you're the reader, you're the editor as well. The author, the editor, the reader at first. But also important to send your work for professional language editing, including proofreading and technical editing as well, with those who know how to do this. So that your work is presented in a manner that is acceptable for assessment at both masters and PhD level. Then following the formatting guidelines that are set by UJ as an institution in terms of font size, spacing, margins. Like I've said, there are presentations that we have done where we spoke about this thesis format and submission procedures. We do have them on our Moodle communities, both for masters and honors masters by coursework, including for masters by research and doctoral communities for the research capacity development unit, of course. Just some guidelines for successful research report writing: starting early and break the writing process into smaller tasks. So you don't have to do everything at once. Writing in stages as well. You draft sections as you go, not at the end. So when you are writing, that skeleton should always be there. I call it a skeleton. It's very important. And when I was a PhD student, I even used to write that skeleton like a table of contents. Then my supervisor reviewed that before I start writing. That this is what I think I'm going to include within this chapter, within this section. Then we talk about that. So that avoids that, along the way you are told to say, okay, this is what you are writing. You did not, it's not aligned with what you are expected to be doing, or it doesn't align with your topic. Then you have to remove and restart writing. So we engage on the contents. And if the supervisor approves the contents, then I go and write, because we have already agreed on the contents. Then I don't have to repeat what I would have would have agreed. So that is also another sort of a tip that you can use, or a technique that you can use as well. So it's important to seek feedback from your supervisor and peers regularly. Use of academic writing support and services or workshops, like what the RCD, the Research Capacity Development Unit, offer. Make use of digital tools as well. Right, like the reference managers, I've talked about that. Grammar checkers, Grammarly. The university subscribe for us to use Grammarly, so you also check for spelling. Even within Microsoft Office, the Word is sort of an embedded tools for also checking grammar and spelling errors. Then it's important to aim for clarity, for brevity, and for impact. The report itself, it should be informative and easy to follow. So it's important that the issues of the length itself, so everything, it should be very important should be important for the reader to be able to follow what they have been writing. Then you have it in mind that good research is not just what you find or what you have found, but also how do you communicate what you have found. So these are my concluding remarks. So the research reports themselves, they are structured stories. So they are more than just a collection of data. They actually present a coherent narrative from problem identification findings and implications of your study. So each section, it has a purpose, and it must contribute to the overall clarity and credibility of your research. Then, of course, clarity, consistency, and academic integrity, it matters. So you must, your writing must be clear and follow a logical structure. That will make your report accessible and understandable. Issues of consistency in referencing, formatting, terminology, demonstration of professionalism. It's very, very something that is of significance. Then, of course, upholding academic integrity to ensure that your research is trustworthy, and also it's respected. That is also very important. Issues of ethics and planning to plan as well as writing aid, being a very sort of a major requirement as well. You have to start early, plan the sections, and you write in stages. Like I've said, you can even engage your supervisor on, if you have planned to say this is what I'm going to include, engage your supervisor on that skeleton, and usually if you agree, then you won't be, what you write is not offward. It's within what you are supposed to as expected within the topic that you'll be looking at, and also seeking feedback as well. It will improve clarity, flow, and the accuracy of the work that we'll be doing. Then use of reference management softwares, as practical tools that can enhance your work, EndNote, RefWorks, EndNote, the university offer training for EndNote, and we have it within the software that the university offer. So you can use that to handle citations. Use of visuals like tables, graphs to present data effectively, issues of editing as well, proofreading, editing for improving clarity and formatting before you submit your research report. And so my message is that a strong research report, it communicates your ideas clearly, it demonstrates your knowledge of the field, and also contribute to the academic discussion or discourse. You have to focus on clarity, you must focus on brevity, and also on impact, making every section meaningful. And with this, I'm now handing over back to Mr. Ntuli. Here's a bit of some references you can follow. We will share these slides with you, and as well as the recording. So maybe that's just some sources of interest that you can do for further reading. And I hand over back to Mr. Ntuli to usher us into the open discussion segment. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Munyara, for such a very wonderful and insightful presentation. I hope the colleagues who have attended here have something. So I'll just go through some chats. In the meantime, colleagues, if you do have a question, you can just raise a hand. I will enable everyone's mic right now. Remember to make sure that there is no background noise from your side that can interrupt the proceeding of this session. So you are more than welcome to just raise a hand. In the meantime, let me just go through some few chats. Okay, there is a comment or a question from Nadia. Good afternoon. Please guide with regards to ethics. After completing the module on ethics, how do you obtain the ethical clearance certificate?
Okay, after, I don't really get it very clearly. Say after completing, if it relates to your study, you have to apply for ethical clearance. It's a process that you do within your faculty, and the faculty officer as well as your supervisor can advise you on that process in terms of the requirements within your faculty. But there is an faculty ethics committee that sits to deliberate on the, in terms of ethical risks, as well as all those ethical facets of the study that we'll be doing, as guided by the research design that you are following, data collection procedure and other elements. Then they sit down to determine, and issue an ethical clearance to you. So I just didn't understand the ethical. The after doing the ethical module, maybe the one who asked the question can unmute and maybe possibly we can interact, we can engage verbally.
Let me just quickly enable everyone's mic. So Nadia, you can unmute your mic if you want to clarify your question. Because
okay, good
on
afternoon, everyone.
Yes,
Yeah,
go
me-
ahead. Afternoon.
Okay, my question was because when I was doing the, you do your part where you submit to the supervisor to show you what the plan is for your dissertation, minor dissertation. I wanted to know, there was a part on that document where you needed to put your clearance certificate number. So I wanted to know where you get it from. I think the presenter has explained that it's not you that does it. It's when the committee sits and they look at all your research, and then after that they give you a response. I think I'm happy with that. Thank you so much.
Yes, so within that response, the ethical clearance number will be stated. So that response is in writing. So they write a sort of an ethical clearance letter to you with a
Thank you so much.
with a reference number that they use. So that reference number is the one that you use for any ethical purposes or anywhere where you're asked about ethics. Even when you're publishing, if they ask you about ethical approval of the study or ethical clearance of the study, then you can state that and also submit that as the evidence.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, welcome.
Right. And is the other question, I think Doc has mentioned that because she was saying, please give more tips on literature review, how it can be outstanding. I think Doc touched on literature review. Or you want to add something, Doc?
I can just add, we do have, I've looked at amongst our resources. If you are not registered on our Moodle communities, please just do send us an email to rcdinquiries@uj.ac.za. I think the email is within the feedback survey request that was posted by Mr. Ntuli in the chat section. So put your details in terms of your name and surname, your email address, your student number, and which level are you, within the postgraduate studies, which level are you at? If it's master's by coursework, then just say coursework master's. If it's doctoral, just say doctoral student, so that we can enroll you on the Moodle communities, because that's where you access the links to our resources that are both the recordings, the links to the recordings on our YouTube channel, as well as the slides, the presentation slides, if we have obtained access to the slides after the presentations. So this, like for instance, these slides, I will deposit them there on our Moodle community so that you can be able to access for future reference. And we have resources from as back as 3 years ago. So all the resources, we keep them. You can further refer. There's a pool of resources that you can look at for guidance and discussions in some of these elements that we are discussing here. And I've done a presentation on critical literature review this year. So where I talk about how do you really review your literature, how do you review it? For it to be outstanding, what is it that you do? Right. We can move on, Ms. Andu.
Okay. Let me just take one last from the chat before I move on to the hands. And there is one from Vincent. Must all the statistical calculations be in the results, or can be moved to appendix?
Definitely they can be moved to appendix. Remember, within your results, when you use the particular software, like maybe for example you have used SPSS, there's a lot of outputs that you get, but you must be able to know what is it that is important that you want to share with the reader, and also that answers the research questions that you are having. So it's not like everything end up in the every output end up in the study itself, right? But if there's any other sort of supplementary material or within so the outputs that you have obtained from the analysis that you want to bring to the attention of the reader, or that you are referring to within the part of your research report, then you must obviously include that within the appendix section. There's
Thank
a
you,
supplementary
Doc.
material, yes.
Yeah, thank you, Doc. We're moving on to, there was a hand from Patlele. You can just unmute your mic.
Good afternoon, colleagues. I hope you are all well, all protocol observed. I wanted to ask, I've done the write-up and everything, well, according to the logic that makes sense to me. But now I need to put this work that I have done into an article. Do you, as RDC, are you able to assist in helping students in such a way that they can now take the work that they have done and to make it an article, if I can put it that way? Or is there a way you can assist in giving frameworks to say, if you want to publish with this journal, this is the framework they use, or something to that effect? Thank you.
Okay, we do offer assistance in that. We just don't do it to say, okay, we are doing it for you, but yeah, welcome. I think we do communicate, isn't it? Ms. Patlele, we have communicated before, isn't it?
Yes, I did speak to you on that regard, where I was trying to get hold of Prof.
How did that go?
It went very well. He was helping me to check the flow of the content of what I have written. He's happy with that. But now I need to now take that content that makes sense and I align it with a specific journal that I want to publish with.
So book a
submitter.
Sorry?
Kule email yani yathunyezwayo sometime back.
Sorry, colleagues, for that.
Yeah, I think they need to be muted.
Let me mute. Okay, I've muted.
Colleagues, remember, if it's not yet here to ask a question, please do make sure that your mic is always muted, unless you have a question and you have been selected to ask your question. Thank you.
Thank you. You may proceed, Dr. Gabriel.
Adelaide, okay, to book a session with Dr. Lorenzo David, right?
Lorenzo David.
Then I will also collaborate on that session with.
Okay. Okay. I do it the same way I had booked Prof, right?
Yes, you do it the same way, but book specifically Dr. Lorenzo. Then maybe when you ask what you want to be assisted with, mention that you would prefer this to be a collaboration between him and myself. Then I will come and be part of that session and help you further.
Okay, I'll do so. Doctor. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There was a hand. I don't know if that person was answered.
Was it not Vincent?
Yeah, so let me just go back to the chat, and as soon as we get another hand, and then you come back. Okay, here's another hand. Hlengiwe, you can unmute your mic.
Hi, sir. How are you? Good day, everyone.
Good, how are you?
I just wanted to ask if you guys have any existing questionnaire template that you use that I can utilize for my questionnaires?
Okay, on the questionnaire, we do not have an existing questionnaire, but I can link you up with Dr. Anes Ukuzai from StateCon. He is the one who can assist you with existing questionnaires, you know, sort of a template for existing questionnaires, including the assistance with the design process itself.
Okay.
We have some resources where he presented on that as well. I will, send me an email. I will check amongst the resources that he gave. I think there's one that he also includes a questionnaire in it, but it's not a template, but it's a questionnaire within that document that he was referring to. So I can share that with you.
Thank you. I'll send you an email then, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
There was a question from Nadia. Must we only use peer-reviewed references?
It is very important to do that. Why? Because, you can also use some references that are, because remember, we use, it must be from reputable sources. Let me just underscore that. Because we also have other, maybe like reports from governments and government entities, from organizations like United Nations and so on, but that did not go through a process of peer review. Some do not undergo that, but they are coming from reputable source. So it's an issue of the credibility of the source. But when it comes to publications, it's important for you to check that it's published in a reputable, and journals that are reputable. It doesn't mean that if a journal is not accredited with the Department of Higher Education and Training in South Africa, then that journal is not a reputable journal. But most of the journals, they are accredited, right? But you have to assess. Remember, referencing is not just about providing a source, but there are other elements that usually reviewers don't do that, but they can also do that if they want to go further and question the credibility of the source that they have used. As a reviewer, I can look at the authority of the person that you are citing, right? So such elements, they undermine the quality of your study. So it's important. If you are writing for publications, some journals, I think I've published in 1 or 2 journals that verified my sources one by one and tell me that they don't know this source. So I had to change to other sources. So it's important that you check whether is it coming from a journal that is sort of reputable when you do your citations, including the material that you have used to sort of as part. Remember, citations are evidence as well. So you must not use studies that are of a poor quality. Otherwise, also your conclusions, we also regard them as poor as well.
Thank you, Doc. I see there was a follow-up question from Nara. She asked if we should use internet list. Let me just find the correct question. Oh, also, should we always include the internet links in your references? That was a follow-up question.
Okay. So the use of links, of course, they have to be included. Most of the referencing styles, I haven't seen the ones that I've used. I've used the PA, I've used the Harvard, the Northwest University Harvard, I've used the UJ Harvard. So they provide, the link should be provided. But the problem with seeking information from websites is that the storage of the information is not permanent. That link is not permanent. Myself, when I went into my PhD study, sometimes when I write papers based on what some of the things that I've done, then I integrate some of the text from my my study, then including the sources that are relevant to that, I find that maybe 1 or 2, 3 links, they are not active anymore, right? So that is the risk, and the research is already published. So that's the issue with links, right? So in most cases, as much as possible, try to look for sources like journal articles, books, including those that have a digital object identifier, a DOI number, which ensures sort of a long-term kind of permanent storage for that source. But of course, you include them in your reference list is prescribed in the referencing style that you'll be following.
Thanks, Doc. Moving on to the next question, and there's a question from Makawe. What makes a master's research to be upgraded to a doctorate?
That is a process. The university allows for that process, but there must be a very strong motivation why you want to do so from I'm thinking yourself and your supervisor as well. Your supervisor is to motivate why that can be the study can be elevated to a doctoral study. But that is if your study there's something groundbreaking in what you'll be doing. Let me put so. Okay, the factors they are just wide and diverse, but amongst them, I think is the contribution that you'll be making. If you are, because remember at master's level, you are not expected to make a contribution to existing knowledge, but though it's a good practice for you to do so, because the essence of research is for you to contribute something to existing knowledge or to scholarship. So, but it's not much of a requirement for masters, but a requirement for PhD. So if you are making a contribution that is so meaningful, then your study can stand a chance to be elevated to a PhD study. But when you do that process, if you are permitted, I've not seen anyone who I haven't seen anyone who have been allowed to do that. According to my circles, for those that I know, but I'm sure since it's a provision within the policies of the university, then that is something that is possible. But of course, you forfeit your master's qualification as well. You are not awarded master's and PhD for the same study. If you go to doctoral, then you are just you'll be awarded the doctoral qualification for that study. So those are some of the factors that I think are of significance.
Thanks, Doc. Makawe, I think you might have a follow-up question regarding what Dr. Gabriel has just said. You can just unmute your mic.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to ask the question. Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to find out, Doc, let's hope I don't have background noise because I'm just standing outside my child's school. But I just wanted to ask, Doc, concerning reports that you get from the examiners, right? One report from the examiner is 1 page and it is positive and says that your research is ready for publication. The other report from the other examiner is 10 pages and has a lot of things that needs to be corrected. How do you handle such kind of a situation whereby 2 examiners are differing in terms of examining your report? The other one is saying you are ready for publication, and the other one says that you points out 10 pages worth of things that you need to correct. Thank you.
Okay, that is, I assume we are talking about publication in terms of articles. If it's a thesis, then the reports are conflicting. Then I think the department, the faculty committees, they sit for that, as well as because the approval must come from the Senate for one to be able to graduate according to, you can verify, within the policies of the university, the process, but they have provisions of making sure that there's a consensus amongst the people who have sort of assessed your study. But when your question is more relevant to publications, we have also encountered such a lot of times. I encounter that there's one who can say maybe this should be accepted in its current form, but then there's another one who will give 10 pages, like you're saying, of sort of pointing out concerns that need to be addressed. But this is my suggestion that you can follow. I normally look at, because remember, even there are some who can say your study should not even be accepted, right? So how do you strike a balance in addressing the comments that are positive and including the ones that are negative, even to the extent of saying your work should not be considered for publication, right? So what I do is that I focus on also the things that, remember, even that one who wants the work not to be published, there are certain comments that the reviewer makes that are valid, right? That improves the work that they are doing. So I action on everything that he states that I can action on, right? But remember, the editor would have already made a decision, either to sort of accept your paper for publication with minor comments, because remember, the review informs the editor of the decision that they have to do. So if there are two that are conflicting, then the editor will play a role in maybe judging, also being the one that will be sort of now judging whether this should be accepted for publication or not, or whether there should be major changes or minor changes. So I work on the positives, if all that is positive, or all that is essential, that really speaks to the study that I'm doing, or that are shortfalls within the study that I'm doing. I work on all that. And what I cannot work on, I will just state the reason why I cannot work on it, or why I disagree. But really, I don't value too much, all the negative, completely negative feedback that does not add to the study that I'll be doing. Then I just ignore it.
Thank you, Doc.
All right.
Thank you for that. I see there is another hand from Patel. You can just unmute your mic and then I'll go back to the chat.
I was actually just laughing when the fellow student asked, but in another language, we call it the reviewer 2 syndrome. Like, they have a way of crushing us. But we call it the reviewer 2 syndrome, the one that is just negative and ready to kill you alive. Thank you.
So it is important. I've reviewed for some journals before, and sometimes I can tell that this paper is coming from a researcher who is emerging, right? And I also take it upon myself to try, by all means, to offer feedback that is constructive, that enhance the study that the person will be doing, so that it is publishable. So I don't rush to say this must be rejected, but I also check, is it a seasoned researcher, although that information is usually not provided. But from the work itself, if you see that the work is emanating from a thesis, then it means it's a researcher who is sort of upcoming. Maybe that's the first paper or second paper. So you have to be very sort of not lenient in your approach to the review, but be constructive in the review itself. If it's something that can be sort of worked on and improved, then I try to make comments that sort of enhance the study. But there are reviewers who do that, including even for us, who have maybe published 1 or 2, 3 publications. You can be your paper can be reviewed and you are told that you're writing like an honor student. But the whole review exercise, according to the conventions or ethical conduct, it must be done in a manner that is respectful.
Okay, thank you, Doc, for that. There was a question, but you have answered that question, Doc, from Nengovela. Is there a module for ethical? Please clarify, or do we have to fill the forms only? I think that question was answered. Someone already asked the same question. Okay.
I'm thinking maybe there might be, I'm not aware of the module itself, but I think it must be, it's maybe provided within maybe those short courses or other kind of support that the university also offers. But in terms of your study, what is required is the ethical clearance certificate or letter that you must get for your study. That guides or permits you to be able to conduct field work if there's any field work that you want to do, or as evidence of approval of the study in terms of ethical guidelines.
Thank you. Next one, please, if one's license for Atlas TI has expired, how do they go about getting another license?
I'm thinking if it's a private license, then you have to contact the Atlas TI for them to renew it for you. I think it's also IBM that offers Atlas TI. These are linked to Microsoft, if I'm not mistaken. But you can, if it's a university license, then they always subscribe again or renew the license. Then you can access it through the responsible officials at the UJ library, because they are the ones who deal with this license. If you don't have the contacts, then you can send an email to RCD inquiries at uj.ac.za. Then we will give you the details of Mr. Gavin Singo, who is the one who train people for use of Atlas TI, and also the provision of the license as well. I think him and Shifiwa.
Thank you. Moving on to the next question. How do you know if a journal is reputable? Is there a list of publications that are reputable? I am in education.
But we are normally guided by the accreditation list of the Department of Higher Education and Training. So that's the one that we use for those that are accredited here in South Africa. So there's a list Director of Open Access Journals from Scopus, Web of Science. So we are guided by that list. So the journals that appear on that list, they are reputable. But I've done a presentation, I think it's last month, where I shared a lot on how do you sort of distinguish between a reputable journal and a predatory journal. So all the elements that you can follow, including tips, guidelines, what is it that you can check, some checklist that you can also have, in terms of you making that decision. So there is a presentation and a recording for that on our Moodle platform.
Thank you. I see, Vincent, you can just unmute your mic.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for this opportunity to ask the question. I want to take you back to your presentation. I had actually posted this on the chat box concerning results, which is chapter 4 of the research report. For quantitative studies, there are statistical calculations and tables, like, for example, analysis of variance, regression analysis, and things like that. So should we keep those in chapter 4, or maybe we should move them to the appendix? Thanks, and over to you.
Okay, Vincent, like I've said, it's you who determine in terms of the progression of your presentation, the logical flow as well of the chapter itself. So usually within the appendices, it's that supplementary information that you also want the reader or to consider. But that sort of if you include it within the text, it can affect the logical progression of your chapter, of your presentation within the chapter. So there are some elements that are important that they don't need to be far. They should be closer to where you're presenting the results. Then you put that, like maybe a regression table, for example. Those are summary statistics, for example. But sometimes these like the maybe correlation matrix, I normally put that at the end. But you determine what is it that you want to present. But at the end, it must not affect the logical progression of the work, of the sections, of the chapter itself, as relating to all the other chapters that make up the whole study as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you for that. Doc, I don't see any new questions from the chat, just the comments or requests for the presentations as well as the recording of this session. So colleagues, we will upload the resources which include the recording of this workshop as well as the presentation that was used to your module community, the postgraduate, research, masters, coursework, as well as the PhD module communities. So if you are not yet enrolled, you can email us on RCT inquiries, and then we will happy to assist you with the enrollment. However, you can just make your life easier by just registering your profile on the RCTMS. That is where you get all the previous workshop recordings as well as all the resources that were used. So I'm not sure if I'll be closing anyone out. Oh, another comment which I saw on the chat from someone who was asking regarding the certificate. Colleagues will send certificates at the end of each month due to the number of workshops that we are offering. So therefore, we can't, after each workshop, send out a certificate. So we combine all the workshops and send the certificate in bulk. For previous month, which was in the August, the certificate will be out by end of this week and latest next week. So each and every month, and we send out certificate for the previous month. So I hope that you were answered. Okay, moving on. I don't know, Doc, any last word from your side before we can officially close the session?
Goes from my side, it's just a word of thanks to the participants who have took their time to join us for today's session. I'm actually amazed of the numbers that we had, and I'm thinking that the conversation have been meaningful. A lot of times these topics, they seem like a very small thing, but we end up interacting even for more than 2 hours. So which shows the sort of the significance or the importance of these conversations that we are having, and we are thankful for the support, as we also support the postgraduate students. And I hand over to you to lead us into the closing of the session.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Manyera. That was a very insightful and informative presentation. Thank you to everyone, to the colleagues and students who have attended. Thank you for your time. We hope these kinds of workshops have helped you and will help you going forward with your research journey or with obtaining your qualification at whatever level that you are studying. With that being said, colleagues, I will be officially closing the session, but before that, just a quick reminder to fill in the feedback, the link I've shared on the chat. If you didn't register for this workshop, probably you have joined using the direct link. This is an opportunity for you to fill in the feedback. That is where we will get all your details in order for us to issue out a certificate of attendance. So we kindly request you to take your time to fill in the feedback, because that is where we will issue out certificate of attendance. Thank you, everyone. Once again, you can have a great evening further. I'm now officially ending this session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye.
all. Bye-bye, colleagues. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, colleagues.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.